All right. Hello, hello. My name is Jacob. I go by JBZ as my crypto handle or my Web3 handle. I'm the head of business development and partnerships over at Lido. And before we kind of jump into the ecosystem and everything else, I just wanted to give a quick background of what Lido is, what liquid staking is for those that might not know. So Lido is one of the liquid staking providers that exists. There's a few different ones. And liquid staking is an attempt to solve the paradox of choice that was created when proof of stake systems started coming online. For simplicity, sticking with Ethereum, basically a user is forced to choose between locking up their collateral on the proof of stake chain, in this case, Ethereum, in exchange for providing services and adding to the security of the network. They get paid some of the inflationary rewards in ETH, or they could use their assets to go participate in DeFi yield strategies. And the problem with this is that in a vacuum, most people are going to be self-serving. A rational actor is going to be self-serving, and they're going to choose the higher APR. So this puts proof of stake chains, in our view, at risk. So what liquid staking does is, instead of a user staking with the beacon chain specifically or directly by themselves, they can stake with Lido in this case. And what happens is, when you give someone, if someone gives Lido 1 ETH, we give them a liquid representation of deposit, which we call STETH, short for staked ETH. And then that is a liquid representation that's backed one-to-one by the underlying collateral of ETH that can be used in other DeFi farming strategies if a user so chooses, up to their risk level of choice. And what this does is it allows the network, the proof of stake networks, to stay secure while still letting users have liquidity around their assets in order to complete whatever trading strategies they may or may not want to partake in. So jumping into it, I'll do a screen share here just to show what it would be like to stake with Lido. Candidly, it's very straightforward. Oh, moved me to the wrong screen here. So just our website is Lido, Lido.fi. And all you would do is you could either click this blue Stake Now button for Ethereum, or you can come down to see our other networks. We're currently live on Ethereum, Solana, Kusama, and Polkadot will be launching next week, and Polygon. So all, again, sticking with Ethereum, you just click the Stake Now button. We wait for the internet to load. And just like most DeFi applications, whether you're using MetaMask or Coinbase wallet or whichever wallet provider of choice, and it automatically connected me because I've been to this website previously. So I'm connected to one of my work wallets right now. And basically, you can see the APR. You can get some quick data inputs. So if you put 1 ETH, it shows you that 1 ETH will get you 1 STETH, or STETH, we sometimes call it. Tells you the approximate transaction cost and the reward fee. What this is since Lido is providing a service of liquid staking, we charge a 10% protocol fee of the rewards earned. So user collateral is never going to be touched, the principal. But if, for example, if it's a 4% APR, Lido takes 0.4% or 10% of that. And then that is split between our infrastructure providers and the Lido treasury to cover general operational expenses. Similar to any existing business, we have expenses from payroll and incentives, et cetera. So that's what keeps the lights on long term. And the other benefit of liquid staking with Lido is that it also allows you to not have to worry about standing up your own infrastructure. And it also allows you to stake as little as 0.1 ETH if you so choose. If you were to stake natively on your own, you would have to run your own infrastructure as well as have a minimum of 32 ETH, which is relatively expensive for a lot of users. And then you would submit the transaction and confirm it. I'm just not going to walk through the process live in this moment just because of the delays with my internet. But you would get a confirmation from your wallet. In this case, MetaMask would pop up confirming, do you want to approve this transaction? Do you want to sign? And then at the end of it, you would have the equivalent amount of STETH, depending on how much you staked. So if you stake 1, you get 1. If you stake 0.5, you get 0.5. So pretty straightforward. And this is the same kind of layout for all of our networks. We're also looking to expand in Q3 to Avalanche and Cosmos. And then we have Near Protocol probably a little bit later than that in the roadmap as well. The other thing I wanted to mention is our ecosystem. we have a pretty deep integration. This is one of the biggest value adds in our mind of working with or using Lido assets, is that we have made it a priority to make sure that once you have STETH, there's activities and things that you can do with it. So we've been integrated with Aave in case you want to lend your collateral or borrow against it with a stable coin, for example, for alternative hedging strategies. We're integrated with MakerDAO if you would like to be able to open a collateralized debt position in order to mint DAI. Anchor Protocol, we were integrated with until the Terra implosion a couple of weeks ago, so we need to update our front end here. We're on a number of AMMs or decentralized exchanges, and we're also integrated with aggregators such as 1inch. We're integrated, on Curve. We're launching a Uniswap pool soon. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be expanding over to, again, I'm focused on Ethereum for this call, but it's a similar roadmap and rollout for all of our networks. But we're getting ready to roll out into Arbitrum and Optimism, as well as a few other L2s, mainly to avoid some of the transaction costs that you see with Ethereum when it's heavily congested. And for anyone that wants to grab a lot of data, we've built a huge amount of analytics dashboards here. I apologize for those listening. My computer seems to be having a bit of an existential crisis with staying up to speed here. But we have a number of Dune dashboards that have been built either by members of the DAO internally or part of the larger community. So if you go to dune.com and just search for the name Lido, you'll see a multitude of different dashboards that are available. And it shows the amount of stake of Lido versus other liquid staking protocols. It shows dashboards relative to how much STETH is on specific platforms like Ribbon Finance for covered calls, or Curve if you want to monitor those. We can monitor integrations with Aave, and I'll click on the Lido Finance Extended because this is kind of our primary dashboard. Wow, it's really struggling to move forward here. While it is thinking about its life, one thing I did want to mention is one of our biggest priorities, again, on Ethereum over the next year is going to be mitigating the merge from proof of work to proof of stake. And the expectations as of most recent updates seem to be that the first part will happen in August, and then the second half will most likely happen in December or potentially next year. For some context, what's going to happen with the merge is there's two halves. The first part will be actually migrating the beacon chain, or migrating Ethereum to a proof of stake system away from the proof of work mining setup that it currently has. The biggest change that you'll see from a user perspective is the APRs for staked Ethereum will most likely jump by a significant amount. The estimates are hypothesizing between 8 and 15%, depending on demand and scale that new stake comes online. The reason for the increased APR is the current reward rate of 4% is just the inflation of the Ethereum network. But once we complete the first part of the merge, things like MEV, maximal extractable value or minor extractable value will move over to validators. Transaction fees as well as tips, prioritization tips will all be added to the current APR, which, as I mentioned, will at least double is the expectation, if not potentially triple the APRs. Because I'm not sure why it is going so slow. This is the primary benefit of liquid staking, is not losing your assets or your collateral. And losing is probably the wrong word, not losing the liquidity of your assets. Even once withdrawn and activated, there will still be a premium to immediate liquidity by being able to exit your position on Curve, Sushi, for example, or the peg, not peg's wrong word, if the exchange rate is ever different, there will be an arbitrage opportunity of staking and unstaking directly with Lido if you're willing to sacrifice some of the time components. This is the same in all of our networks. And yes, the goal is to pass all of the APIs takes to the end user. We view Lido and liquid staking as a public good, and we're just trying to make the economics so that it's minimal. Because we see the fundamental improvement on the current. Yeah, that that might be a good idea. Turning off the camera is what I'm getting recommended here. So give me one. So since the dashboard seems to have not continued loading, just continuing to talk about the merge. From an end user perspective, there's nothing that an end user would need to do. We are handling all the technical lift of migrating through the merge process. So if you're staked with Lido, you just stay staked, and your APR will start increasing once the first part of the merge happens. The second part of the merge, which I mentioned might be the end of this year optimistically, or more likely the beginning of next year. That's when withdrawals are going to be activated, and that's when a user can physically go and request withdrawing their ETH either from the beacon chain if they're natively staked, or from Lido able to withdraw their assets directly. We do expect there to be a little bit of a queue or a delay when the merge withdrawals first happen, mainly because long-term stakers that have been compounding rewards for a while from staking are probably going to want to unstake to compound that and potentially stand up a new validator. But once we get through the congestion period, that's where, depending on demand for unstaking or staking at any given time, and end users' need of speed to liquidity, they can choose whether they want to unstake formally from the beacon chain, or if they want to exit their position by going through an AMM or a DEX, like the ones I've mentioned a few different times. The last thing I guess I want to cover before we open it up to general questions or comments is, during the bear market, there's a lot of questions around what should I not do, and of course this isn't financial advice, and do your own research and take into consideration your risk profile. But generally, we see liquid staking as a phenomenal bear market asset. And the main reason is, if you're sitting on a bundle of ETH, you're fluctuating with the price of the market going up and down. But by holding a liquid bearing or a liquid asset such as Lido's STETH, you're still going up and down from the price perspective of the market, but you're also at the same time earning that additional 4% APR. And what's really nice about this is, again, depending on your risk level or your specific trade strategies, if you feel that long-term Ethereum is going to succeed, then you are able to maintain a long-term position with STETH. And if you need to gain additional liquidity for additional strategies, or if you need to temporarily borrow stables, that's where things like Maker or Aave's integrations are especially interesting, because you can maintain that long-term exposure to the Ethereum network, again, if you view it as long-term viable, but then still get access to liquidity that are in stables, again, if you have specific needs or use cases for your specific desires. So I think in the bear markets, that's why we view, and again, we're biased here, we view liquid staking assets as just being a net better improvement, because it gives you exposure to the network, it helps decentralize the network, and you still get the liquidity and optionality to borrow against that asset pretty freely, depending on which network you're on. So I realize that it's not a half hour here, and I will talk. Looks like it just kind of completely froze. But this just shows how much ETH has been deposited, the total value locked in the protocol towards different networks, the amount of ETH staked, number of unique. Yeah, the page looks like it's freezing here. Number of unique depositors, our market share relative to liquid stakers, to the rest of the market, and there's a bunch of comparisons. But like I said, the page just decided to crash on me here. So the shift, hopefully speed communications up a little bit better, but I don't know if anyone of course, technical difficulties, any questions or comments about liquid staking, other networks. Hi, my apologies. My computer decided it was not going to have a day of it today. So I'm not entirely sure where everyone was that was understandable at the time before audio and video cut out. Since I'm on my phone, unfortunately, the demo component will have to be tabled. But like I mentioned, basically the easy, straightforward way is we're compatible with almost any wallet you can think of. And if you just go to lido.fi, there's a nice blue, bright blue button that says stake now. That'll take you for staking Ethereum. Or if you want to navigate a little bit lower on our homepage, we have additional networks. Solana, Kusama, and Polygon are all live along with Ethereum, with Polkadot launching as of next week. And then Avalanche and Cosmos are currently in production, getting built out, hopefully for Q3. And just to answer the question that came through earlier before things went off the rails, the question was liquid staking. Their assets, you have the flexibility of not being locked, and at the same time, you're able to achieve the same outcomes of normal staking. The super simple answer is yes. There's some slight differences. Lido does take a 10% protocol fee of the rewards earned. So we don't touch anything related to the principal. So if Ethereum, for example, is a 4% APR, Lido protocol takes 0.4 of that and passes the remaining 3.6 to the end user. And then that 10% fee is split between our infrastructure providers that are helping to support the liquid staking pool, as well as the Lido treasury, just for general boring operational expenses, payroll and incentives and technology and software expenses, all those good things. We really view Lido as a public good because of its just net benefit to improving the proof of stake experience, especially on Ethereum. So that's why we try to minimize the extraction of value as much as we can, but we need to also make sure there is long-term viability of the protocol to pay expenses for future, forever, possibly. We do have a Dune dashboard. If you just go to dune.com, they're one of the leading analytics platforms. There's also Nansen.ai. We have a large number of dashboards that have either been built by members of the DAO internally or by the larger community as well. So if you go to Dune and search for Lido Analytical, that is one of our DAO accounts that has stood up a number of dashboards, and it shows pretty much any permutation of data that you could think. If you want to see how many unique users have staked with us, the size distribution of stake by users, comparison against other liquid staking or non-liquid staking protocols. You can get data on the various integrations like our curve pool, how much ST versus ETH there are, the projected APR you could earn from deploying your LP position there, Aave, looking at comparison of lending rates and utilization and things like that. So depending how nerdy you want to get, there's probably something there for you. And the biggest thing, just value proposition of Lido, since I'm not sure when I was cut off, is what liquid staking such as Lido lets a user do is you get access to your assets still, so they're liquid and still usable in the rest of DeFi. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure support. You don't have to worry about standing up your own Ethereum validator or having a minimum requirement of 32 ETH. With Lido, you can stake as little as 0.1 ETH, which is really great. So it abstracts away a lot of the complexity for the end user. And the biggest benefit, of course, is while we're waiting for the merge to happen, you still have that flexibility to enter and exit your position. So if you are choosing to exit your position of STETH, you can go to Curve or Uniswap or SushiSwap or any of the main DEXs or AMMs that you're familiar with, and you can exit your position. Once the merge is actually happening, it's being done in two parts. The first part of the merge is estimated to happen around August. And then the second part of the merge will happen end of this year, optimistically, maybe beginning of next year. The first part of the merge is the transition from proof of work to a proof of stake. And right now, the current APR of about 4% is from Ethereum inflation, just net new Ethereum being created for securing the network and going to validators. The second part of it, or the first part, what that will do with the transition to proof of stake is it will switch things like MEV, minor extractable value, or maximal extractable value, Minor tips and priority fees will all start going to the validators, and that will increase the APR. The estimated projections is anywhere between 8% to 15% when the first part of the merge is completed. That will go down as more ETH becomes staked on the beacon chain. But we expect to see a significant boost in the short term once that first part of the merge happens. And for an end user that is potentially staked with Lido, you don't have to do anything. We take care of all the technical complexities, and if you have STETH and it's earning 4%, you'll have it and it will start earning more than that after the first part of the merge. The second part of the merge is when withdrawals will happen. And that's when a user will be able to go and actually request withdrawing their ETH from the beacon chain to formally recover their assets. We expect there to be a fairly substantial queue when that first happens, because a lot of longtime stakers will want to most likely compound their earnings. So if they've been staking for a year, they're going to want to withdraw to capture those earnings and potentially either stand up a new validator and restake, or maybe move to a more flexible option like a liquid staking protocol. And in our minds, we still see the benefits of liquid staking even post-merge, because the requirements of 32 ETH has still been deprecated. And also it really will depend on your needs of liquidity. So if you are in a rush of needing to exit your position for whatever reason, liquid staking will allow you to sidestep the queue by going and swapping immediately out of one of the AMMs or DEXs. But if you are less in a rush of needing to generate that liquidity, there could, in theory, be potential arbitrage opportunities where if the exchange rate, because of the discount of speed to liquidity, you might be able to say, I'm okay waiting a few days potentially, and I'll just go through the formal unstaking process. So the end user experience will be much more, you'll have much better optionality of choosing whether you want to swap out of the position or actually physically unstake once withdrawals happen. I think that's most of what I wanted to cover from our side. Candidly, I'm very sorry about all the technical issues. If anyone wants to reach out, we're in Telegram or Discord, and I'm pretty much always online, for better or for worse. But if there's any questions from the community or the group, I'd love to open the floor up for anything about our future roadmap, technical implementations, future networks we're considering, kind of blue sky, if you will. I've done such a great job answering everyone's questions ahead of time. I guess the last thing as a kind of closing remark, if there's no other questions, if you are a builder in the space and interested in working with Lido, we would love to talk with you. We are actively looking for teams that are building on top of Lido and the ST assets. So we do have a grants program. We're constantly and actively hiring for a variety of positions across both technical and non-technical. So I encourage you to check out careers.lido.fi, as well as popping into, again, to our Discord. If that's of interest, like I said, we're hiring for pretty much any and all positions you could think of. Or if you just want to come and hang out and chat about DeFi or NFTs or anything else, we'd be happy to have you.